I just feel like something's behind me watching us. I really do, like I've never felt before.
Phantoms, poltergeist and terror all await the most haunted team in Derbyshire.
Hello and welcome to Most Haunted.
Our location today has been home to the same family for centuries, but with generations of success and prosperity, there must also be a measure of sorrow, suffering and death. These vulnerable walls play host to many sightings of supernatural activity, ranging from spirit lights to full-body apparitions. With all this in mind, I just had to bring you to Tissington Hall. Situated at the southern tip of the Peak District National Park, the village of Tissington is the ancestral seat of the Fitzherbert family. The hall was built by Francis Fitzherbert in 1609 on the site of a medieval moated manor house, although the area itself has a much older history of habitation, with locally discovered human remains dating back to the Bronze Age. During the Civil War, the family sided with the king, and the hall became a garrison for royalist troops, many of whom died in a bloody skirmish with advancing parliamentarian forces. It remains in family hands, and with the violent unrest of the past forgotten, Tissington Hall seems a peaceful haven. But with so much history and so many rooms to explore, who can say what might await us on this investigation?
The amazing thing about this place is that up until recently it has not really been known as a haunted property. You look at any guidebooks, you look in any history books or ghost books concerning Derbyshire, you will never find a mention of Tissington Hall.
Room 4 seems to be the main focus for a lot of paranormal activity in the building. Many people have witnessed a dark phantom sitting at the bottom of this bed. They've also known the bed to move, shake and vibrate. In the dead of night, many people have woken up to find a dark figure and feel a presence standing above them. Humming has also been heard, and the strange smell of lavender permeates in this room for no apparent reason. This library was built in the early 1900s and is home to some very strange activities. Many people have heard unexplained noises. The temperature drops for no apparent reason. Lamps vibrate and move on their own, and a small animal thought to be the ghost of a cat has been seen and felt in this room many times.
There's a wonderful story about a girl called Wilhelmina. Her real name is Wilhelmina Fitzherbert. In 1862 it's believed she was in bed, got up for some reason, holding a candle. The wind blew the candle and her nightdress caught fire. Her sister eventually got to her, dragged her out into what's known as the gallery, or the long landing, and they wrapped her in some form of cloth and poured water on her. But unfortunately she was severely burnt, but she lingered for many days before eventually dying, and it's believed that it's her ghost that haunts Tissington Hall.
Along with tobacco smoke being smelt here in the cellar, blue and white lights have been seen with regular occurrence. But more terrifyingly is the image of a man in black walking in this particular area.
So all in all, here we are in an extremely old, fantastic Derbyshire home, but it's very much virgin territory. They've had very few paranormal groups through here, and I really don't know what we're going to get tonight, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Uncharted territory that keenly interests Kieran O'Keefe, so much so that the parapsychologist intends to use this location as a basis for several new experiments.
What do you want to do here tonight, experiment-wise?
Well, given that at the Hall, the main eyewitness account is focused on the apparition of a lady in the top corridor where the bedrooms are, what we could do is set up a static EMF meter. It's one thing to have a handheld EMF meter, but you may be picking up extraneous readings even from just actually moving it around. So it's quite important, if that's the phenomena that's recorded, to actually have a static EMF meter and leave it running for an hour or so and see if there's any fluctuation.
There's been many famous cases where supposed paranormal activity is centred around electrical objects. Why is that?
From a skeptic's perspective, it might be associated with EMF. We know from some early research that EMF can affect what's called the temporal lobe in your head, and if you've got temporal lobe lability, it can cause hallucinations. Now, because of the fluctuating EMF, because of high EMF readings, that in itself would affect the electrical items in a room, but also affect the person.
Is there something different with this location that makes it more exceptional than others?
As a skeptic, I'm always looking for rational explanations when mediums come up with information. The primary source of information is the internet. It's readily accessible and it's quite easy to use. With Tissington Hall, the information about the ghost is not available on the internet. There's a few ghost groups that may have visited, and certainly if you've visited it before, you may be aware of the stories.
This will indeed add extra significance to any evidence collected, not more so than with our resident spiritualist mediums Derek Okora and David Wells. Neither know anything of this 400-year-old home or the surrounding land that is steeped further with history and intrigue. And with Derek wanting to begin in the cellar, all of Most Haunted's crew were ready for Tissington Hall.
I feel there's a feeling of hopelessness here, Evie, a feeling of, and also waiting, a patience, and I feel that's born out of, to me, just a quick impression of individual people actually being housed or placed in here at some time. Not, I would say very clearly, to me, it's like not so much a cell, but a place where people were kept, or they would have spent time here. I feel it could be people that have got nothing to do with this building. In other words, people from outside were brought here and held.
A holding cell for petty crimes, then?
That's what I feel it is, Kieran, yeah. And I feel at times maybe people would experience maybe scraping sounds, maybe the occasional like voice, but that I feel is like the replay coming from the residual energies, you know, of what they experienced whilst they were here.
And when do you think this would have taken place?
Oh, I feel this goes back quite a long way back. You know, it could be something like 1550, 1560, to that period of time. However, even further back to then, what's coming now, again, it's from the residual energy. This may sound crazy, but at some time, I'm just experienced a person, you know, like the times of the Vikings, because I feel there's a Viking, or the energy of a Viking, that goes around this building, and I feel he must have been a craftsman of some kind.
What period of time would you say it was living?
I would just say, if I'm going back to 1500, holding people here, we're probably talking about maybe maybe 400 years before that. So it's way before this building was here.
Just one family have ruled this roost, although they aren't certain if this information has any bearing on the building's past. It may look like a cell, but would any of us be trapped by Tissington's tragic and tormented souls?
Ah!
Always a home to just one family, Derbyshire's Tissington Hall appears at peace with this invasion from the Most Haunted crew. But in a property that once suffered civil warfare, Derek's senses venture even further afield, with references to a 12th century Viking craftsman on this land.